In a world that often feels divided, Canada is seen as a sanctuary of civility, a place where sorry is a national catchphrase and politeness is woven into the legal fabric. But what happens when that civility breaks down? Imagine you are standing on a street corner in downtown Toronto or a quiet suburb in Vancouver. Tensions are high. A police officer is questioning you, and in a moment of sheer frustration, a profane word escapes your lips. In many countries, that single word would be a one-way ticket to a jail cell. But in Canada, the answer is far more complex than a simple yes or no. It is a delicate dance between your constitutional right to free expression and the state's power to maintain public order. Most people believe that the police are untouchable, that their feelings are protected by law. They are wrong. But those who believe they can say anything without consequence are also walking into a legal trap.
Today we are pulling back the curtain on the silent rules of interaction. We are going deep into the criminal code and the Charter of Rights to answer the question, can you swear at a Canadian police officer? This is the thin blue line of speech, and the truth might just save your future. To understand the law in Canada, you must first understand the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms. Under Section 2B, every person in this country has the fundamental freedom of thought, belief, opinion and expression. This is the bedrock of Canadian democracy. Canadian courts have consistently ruled that expression includes speech that is offensive, rude or even profane. In the eyes of the law, a police officer is a professional trained to handle high-stress situations. They are expected to have thick skin. Swearing at an officer on its own is not a crime in Canada. It is considered a form of expression, however distasteful it may be.
But here is the legal secret that beginners often miss. While the word might not be illegal, the context changes everything. If your swearing is used to incite a crowd, if it becomes a threat, or if it physically prevents an officer from doing their job, the charter shield begins to crack. The law protects your right to be angry, but it does not protect your right to be a danger to public peace. While there is no swearing law in Canada, there is Section 430 of the Criminal Code, Mischief. This is one of the most flexible and frequently used tools in a police officer's belt. Mischief occurs when someone willfully interferes with the lawful use, enjoyment or operation of property or a public space. Consider a real-life scenario of a man in Montreal who was upset about a parking ticket. He didn't just swear. He stood inches from the officer's face, screaming profanities so loudly that a crowd gathered and traffic slowed down. He wasn't arrested for the words he used. He was arrested for causing a disturbance and mischief. By making a scene, he moved from expression into obstruction. The secret to navigating a police interaction is understanding that the officer isn't looking at your dictionary, they are looking at your behavior. In Canada, the moment your speech stops being a statement and starts being a disruption, you have handed the police the legal keys to your handcuffs. One of the most serious charges a civilian can face is obstructing a peace officer. Under Section 129 of the Criminal Code, anyone who resists or willfully obstructs a public officer in the execution of their duty is committing a criminal offence. The legal secret here is that obstruction can be entirely verbal. If an officer is trying to take a statement from a witness and you are standing nearby shouting profanities to drown out the conversation, you are obstructing justice. You are creating a verbal barrier that prevents the law from functioning. Many people think that as long as they don't touch the officer, they are safe. But in the Canadian legal system, your voice can be as much of a weapon as your hands. If your swearing causes a delay in an investigation or prevents an officer from maintaining safety, the Charter will not save you from a criminal record. The transition from rude expression to criminal harassment is a threshold governed by Section 264 of the Criminal Code. In Canada, the law doesn't just look at the words used, it looks at the effect those words have on the recipient. If your swearing is part of a pattern, if you are following an officer, repeatedly shouting profanities, or engaging in threatening conduct that causes them to reasonably fear for their safety, you have crossed the line. The secret is that harassment doesn't require a physical touch. If the officer can prove that your verbal onslaught made them fear for their well-being, the Charter of Rights will no longer protect you. You are no longer a citizen expressing an opinion. You are a perpetrator of psychological violence. For newcomers, permanent residents, or those on a work permit, a simple verbal altercation can have a devastating legal ripple effect. Under Section 36 of the Immigration and Refugee Protection Act, serious criminality can lead to inadmissibility. while swearing itself isn't a crime if it leads to a conviction for disturbing the peace or assaulting a peace officer, which can include verbal threats, your status in Canada is at risk. The law is clinical. Any offence that carries a maximum sentence of 10 years or more is a ticket to a deportation hearing. The secret here is that for a newcomer, winning the argument on the street often means losing your future in the country. In Canada, your conduct is your currency, and a criminal record for a verbal outburst can bankrupt your Canadian dream. When the setting moves from a street corner to the driver's seat, the legal stakes change. If you swear at a police officer during a traffic stop, you aren't just dealing with the criminal code, you are dealing with the Highway Traffic Act. If your verbal abuse is accompanied by aggressive driving or road rage behavior, the officer can label your conduct as stunt driving or careless driving. The hidden secret is the insurance impact. Insurance companies in Canada audit your driving record. A conviction for failing to obey a peace officer or disorderly conduct during a stop can lead to your policy being cancelled or your premiums doubling. In Canada, your mouth can be the most expensive part of your car to maintain. The airport is a legal exclusion zone. Once you step into a Canadian airport, you are governed by the Aeronautics Act and the Customs Act. Swearing at a CBSA officer or airport security is met with absolute zero tolerance. Because airports are high-security environments, profanity is often interpreted as interfering with a crew member or creating a security disturbance. Under these federal statutes, you can be fined up to $100,000 or placed on a no-fly list. The secret to the airport is that the freedom of expression argument is significantly weaker here because the priority of the law is the absolute safety of the terminal. At the gate, silence is literally gold. If you are swearing at police while on private business property, the Trespass to Property Act becomes the dominant law. In Canada, a business owner has the legal right to ask anyone to leave. If the police are called to remove you and you respond with profanity, you are failing to leave when directed. The moment you refuse to leave and start a verbal altercation, the officer has the legal grounds to arrest you for trespass. The secret here is that your charter rights do not give you the right to be rude on someone else's land. In the eyes of the law, private property rights often override your right to stay and argue. The law is a two-way street. While you are expected to follow the law, Canadian police officers are held to a code of conduct under the Police Services Act. If an officer uses excessive profanity, insults your race or religion, or behaves unprofessionally, you have the legal right to file a complaint with the Office of the Independent Police Review Director, OIPRD. The secret is that while you might not win the argument on the street, the professionalism audit can lead to the officer being disciplined or the charges against you being stayed. In Canada, no one, not even the man with the badge, is above the standards of decency. We are entering an era of the objective witness. Most Canadian police forces are now equipped with body-worn cameras. This digital evidence is changing the face of profanity cases. In the past, it was your word against the officers. Now a judge can see the exact context of your swearing. Did you swear because you were in pain, or were you trying to incite a riot? The secret to the body cam era is that context is king. If the footage shows you were calm and used one bad word out of frustration, the court is much more likely to rule in your favour. But if the footage shows you were aggressive and threatening, the digital eye will be your conviction. If you find yourself in court for a verbal altercation, your greatest weapon is disclosure. Under the Canadian Charter, you have the right to see every note, video and statement the police have. Many swearing cases are won because the officer's notes don't match the reality of the situation. By analysing the officer's notes, a skilled lawyer can prove that your speech was protected expression and not criminal conduct. The secret to winning is not being louder, it is being smarter within the system. We have walked through the 250-minute journey of the thin blue line of speech. We have seen that in Canada, your voice has power, but that power comes with immense responsibility. Being a citizen of this great nation means understanding that your rights are a bridge to a better society, not a weapon to tear it down. Knowledge is the shield that protects your future. When you know the law, you don't have to be afraid and you don't have to be aggressive. You can stand tall, speak with clarity, and navigate the most difficult moments with the confidence of a leader. Canada is a land of freedom, but it is also a land of respect. By mastering these rules, you are protecting your license, your status, and your dignity. The future is yours. Stay informed, stay calm, and welcome to the world of legal secret